How y'all doing today? Today we are going to be doing the Stephen King Nightmares and Dreamscapes all short stories tier list. So I finally went ahead and I read every single story in here, and I'm a really slow reader. It took me about 4 years, but I finally made it through all 900 or so odd pages. And I figured I'd go ahead and rank every single one, so that way maybe you wouldn't have to read the garbage, and you could just sort of go through and get the diamonds in the rough. So let's hop right to it. Starting off was It Grows on You, which was the first book in the collection I read, and it did not grow on me. I didn't enjoy the character, the old people. He did a good job building the environment of the diner, and he did a good job building the world, but I did not enjoy the premise. It was sort of strange with the old woman and like the molestation aspect of it. I was not a fan of. I'd probably rank it as a D. It made it difficult for me to enjoy the rest of the collection. Next up for the little children, this one was pretty strange. What I did enjoy about it was the fact that we got to see inside the mind of someone who was insane to an extent. Someone who it's sort of interesting to like have an insight into someone's mind like that. But I wasn't a fan of the character. It was hard to get involved in it, and it was a little too short in my opinion. So for that, I'll have to put it in. I probably enjoyed it the same amount as It Grows on You, if not a little bit more. But it's definitely D tier, not a good one. Dolan's Cadillac. That was an enjoyable read. I really did. I think what I liked the most about Dolan's Cadillac was the fact that Dolan was not Dolan. The main character, I forget his name, but he didn't have anything particularly great about him. He wasn't strong. He wasn't super smart. He wasn't super charismatic. He was just someone who was determined, and all he had was determination and time. He was able to pull off like this humongous feat and kill a mob boss, and have just this really great a really like cathartic revenge. It was really interesting to see how it was set up the whole time. It's definitely A tier. I definitely enjoyed the build up, the all the steps that he went through, the plot that we went through. Next up is Chattery Teeth, which I believe occurs on the same stretch of interstate, like the same sort of intersection as Dolan's Cadillac between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Chattery Teeth was a strange read, so to speak. It was definitely didn't go the way I was expecting. But what do you expect with Steve? He's pretty squirrely. So I did enjoy the vision of the teeth. They did instill some fear in me, some dread, I guess, and it was also pretty nice to see the robber get chomped like he did and go out that way. It was one of the most enjoyable reads. I'm thinking A tier, honestly. I'm not sure I enjoyed it as much as Dolan's Cadillac, so maybe B, but it was definitely up there, up towards the top. Next was Dedication. This one was sort of strange seeing coming from King, just because if I had to describe it as a genre, it'd be like, I guess drama. Focus on like a mother figure. I couldn't really get too invested in her character. I don't know what it was. I guess maybe I didn't sympathize with her. It was sort of strange, the whole imagery of her eating the excretion, I guess we could say. I didn't enjoy that too much. It was hard for me to understand how she had a son by another man that wasn't her husband. But it wasn't a horrible story. I was able to get through it fine. All these I was able to get through pretty much just fine, but I didn't particularly like Dedication. Next was Moving Finger. This one was gory. It's definitely capitalized on the gore aspect of horror, which I'm not the biggest fan of personally. The imagery, it was definitely pretty firmly cemented in the uncanny valley. The imagery of like that multi-knuckled finger just clawing away at you. It made me a little scared to go to the bathroom a couple times, like scared to wash my hands. I did anyway, because it'd be gross not to, but it was still a little, it creeped me out for sure, but It's better than all these D tier, like it grows on you, but I'm not sure it quite breaks into the B tier. This was sneakers. This one was also sort of, I don't know what it was. It had like a sort of gross vibe, I guess, because it like went down in the bathroom and like the sneakers themselves were pretty gross and all that. I'm sort of like, I didn't really, I liked I guess the action sequences he was able, when we went back in time and saw the drug dealer and how he operated and all that. I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the whole like the gay thing that was going on. And that sounds bad to say, but like, I mean, you know, I didn't like the strange like homosexual like coming on to him. That was weird. I didn't see that coming, but it wasn't the worst story. It wasn't as bad as the other D tier. It definitely is firmly in the C tier. I didn't like it as much as the Moving Finger, but more than these D tier ones. Rock and roll, not rock and roll. They got a hell of a band. That was a hell of a story. I'll say it. I really did enjoy it. That one really did freak me out, just because of how everything was sort of right, but it sort of wasn't. You know, it was like hard to tell at first. It all looked fine, but it seemed a little too fine, a little too perfect. And then you slowly realize, oh no, we're in a trap. There's something's horribly wrong. We have to escape, and that whole escape sequence and being in trance was nice. It makes me think of in Greek mythology when they go to the, you know, like in the Percy Jackson books when they go to the casino and they're like stuck there for like multiple days and they thought it'd just been like an hour. That's what it made me think of. But yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or no, they got a hell of a band. It's a hell of a story. Rainy Season was sort of fun. It wasn't the most, I mean, it didn't like produce a lot of thought or anything, but the imagery of the toads was cool. I hadn't thought about like carnivorous toads. It's a pretty hardcore way to go. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, unless they were mean. But yeah, the needle teeth, the imagery I liked. I like the old timers and the ritual. But besides that, it didn't really stick with me as much as, I don't think it deserves a spot higher than C. It's definitely a high C. Definitely better than the other two stories in it. The Night Flier, this one's premise was cool. I do like vampires, so it had that going for it. But besides that, I was not the biggest fan. It was hard for me to get invested in the character, I think. I forget the reporter's name, but it was hard for me to sympathize with him. He was sort of, I guess he was just too much of a dick for me to like. And like, I guess I sort of like anti-heroes sometimes, but he was just unlikable. The Night Flyer himself wasn't particularly scary. I wasn't afraid of the vampire, and the ending was rushed. But the premise was interesting. It wasn't as bad as the other D tier, but it was definitely mid C tier. My Pretty Pony was a really deep one. It made me think a whole lot. It wasn't scary, but it made me think about time. It was really philosophical. It's the kind of thing that you like sit back and after you're reading, you're like, whoa, like, dude, that's a trip. So it definitely was a trip. It stuck with me. I did like it more than this is probably the top C tier out of this so far. This would be like a C++. Some kind of programming code or something like that. Just because of the time, it did a really good job of explaining that. That stuck with me. Sorry, right number. Sorry, that was the wrong book. Like, I didn't think anything was right about right number. That's mean to say, but it just was sad, and I guess that's fine sometimes, but that wasn't really what I'm looking for when I want to read some Stephen King. It was like a sort of sad story. It came out like a play, which I guess it was like a screenplay, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was sort of, I don't know, it just didn't seem, it seemed predictable. It didn't seem like it was really going anywhere. 10 o'clock people, this is the one. I'm going to have to put this in S tier just because of all the ones, this is the one that I think about the most. This was the most interesting. I love the monsters in it, the strange alien head wrap things. I loved like how they had this underground, they had the resistance movement. I love the action scenes. I love the betrayal. I really like the main character. He was just relatable. I just like the premise that these people who only smoke at the certain time can see through the illusion and they have to pretend that they don't and all that. It did everything. It did pretty much everything right. The only thing I didn't like was that it was longer, which I guess I can't complain about because this is a short story collection. But yeah, if he made this into a series or something, I'd definitely pick it up. The 10 O'Clock People was the best book, the best story in this book, hands down. That's without doubt. Crouch End. Crouch End was another scary one. This one definitely had me frightened. Probably not as much as Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But more than Chattery Teeth, I definitely like the build up, the slow burn that we saw with like the kids and the foreshadowing and all like the strange occurrences. I love the dialect. The British cops were cool. It was overall a pretty cool story. Definitely the most surreal, I guess. The most sort of reality warped. Yeah. The House on Maple Street. The House on Maple Street was okay. I like the kid's antics and being in the mind of a kid again. He did a good job explaining that. I really sympathize with their plight with like the stepfather. That was cool to see like that fight go down. But I did not like the premise of the house sort of growing into a spaceship. That was just a little too out there for me. Maybe I'm not creative enough. And usually I'm a fan of sci-fi, but this one just didn't really work well enough for me. Doctor's Case. I really liked the writing style in the Doctor's Case. It was really cool to see Steve almost make you feel like you're in a Sherlock Holmes book. You know, this definitely had that old timey feel to it. I love the dialect. The case itself that they solved was sort of weak. I wasn't a fan that I wasn't not a fan, but it just seemed sort of cheap to me that it was just a painted canvas and they saw the shadows in it. But I guess, I haven't read any Sherlock Holmes, so I don't know. Maybe they're all like that. But the case could have been a bit more intricate. But I like the characters. I liked how they transpired at the end to sort of save the family. Umney's Last Case. I liked the setting in Umney's Last Case. The world building was cool. The characters were all pretty cool. I liked Umney. I liked the view into it made it seem like he had OCD or he was crazy. I love that look into his psyche, but things started to go downhill when that writer intervened and warped the world. He just broke the world open like that and took Umney out of his body into the writer's body, and that was just too much for me. I wasn't enjoying that kind of warped reality situation, but I did enjoy everything up to that part, and I enjoyed the ending, how he was gonna swoop back in write himself back into his own life. For that, he probably deserved C. Head Down. Oh, just thumbs down for Head Down. I don't like baseball. I didn't want to read about Stephen King's kid playing baseball. I had a hard time getting through Brooklyn August. Same thing. I'm not the biggest. Maybe it was a great poem. I don't know anything about poems or baseball, so. Beggar in the Diamond. Again, I'm not sure what it is. I just don't like parables, or I don't dislike parables, but that's all I'm looking for. Maybe it's unfair to put it here, but that's just not what I'm looking for when I was reading this collection. Popsy was really cool. I like the imagery of I love the savior figure. That was really cool to have the father swoop down. I like the dread and the protagonist. I liked how it was like an anti-hero protagonist. How we were going through the eyes of the kidnapper. We were cheering for ourselves, the protagonist to ultimately face justice. That was cool. Popsy was definitely probably the best of the short story, like the really short under 20 pagers. I'd probably put that in A. If it was as long as say Dolan's Cadillac or They Got a Hell of a Band, I think I would have enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed those other ones. So the End of the Whole Mess. I really enjoyed The End of the Whole Mess just because it had that sci-fi element to it, and it departed from Steve's regular style. But I guess the ending I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't like how it sort of copped itself out and had him start slurring his words and getting stupider and stupider. It's sort of like when they end the story and they're like, and then he woke up, and you're like, well, great. That's a cheap way to end it. If it had a stronger ending, I'd probably put it in the A, mid-A tier. As it stands, it's probably a B+. Yeah, definitely, probably it and Chattery Teeth are B+. Crouch End's around a B-. Home Delivery, I really like this one, I think just because I'm a fan of zombies. I really liked the imagery of the zombies. King did a really good job evoking dread from them. He made them actually scary with the the lobsterman zombie that came out with like no eyes and like the hooks in him and all that. The violence was really well done. The action scenes were all really good. I enjoyed like the town coming together and planning, the men formal watches. It was really enjoyable. The ending was a little too abrupt in my opinion, but I liked everything about it. I liked how it didn't tell us where we were going until we were there. How it was like focused on a pregnant woman at first, and then it sort of hits with the zombies and all that. It did everything pretty much how I would have liked it, except for the ending, which might have pushed it up into S tier. Still not as good as 10 o'clock people, but it was definitely up there. And finally, the fifth quarter. I like the fifth quarter for its crime aspects, like which also lent some credence to the doctor's case and Umney's last case for the crime aspects, I guess. But the fifth quarter did a little bit better in that it was more focused on just regular old people, just the hitmen working against each other. I like the I like the action scenes. I like the characters. I like the Sarge. It was a strong story, not as strong as the A tiers, but it's definitely probably a mid to low B tier. He did a lot of things right in it, and it could have been longer. So yeah, that's the definitive Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes tier list. If you disagree, I don't think you're right. You probably think you're right just because that's how opinions work. But yeah, that's it. 10 o'clock people at the top, everything, all the baseball at the bottom, and everything else in between.